Now we'll get into addition and subtraction of rationals. If things have a common denominator, we can use this basic property that says a over c plus b over c is equal to a plus b over c. We add the numerators, and it's over their common denominator. However, most of the time things don't have a common denominator, so we need to find the least common denominator. How we're going to do this is we're going to start by factoring the denominators, and then essentially we're going to take a product of all of the things that appear on the denominators. So let's look at some examples. Here's our first example, and here we can start by factoring the second denominator. They have a 2 in common, and I'm left with x plus 3. So my least common denominator, the first fraction has an x plus 5. The second fraction has a 2 and an x plus 3. And it's customary to write numbers out front, but it's not necessary. So now we need to rewrite our fractions. Our first one, 5 over x plus 5. It's missing, to get the common denominator, a 2 and an x plus 3. So on the top, I'm going to multiply by 2x plus 3. The second one has the 2x plus 3, but it's missing the x plus 5, so I need to add it to both the top and the bottom. We can then start by multiplying out the numerators. When I do that, I get 10x plus 30. The bottoms are going to stay factored. 2x plus 5x plus 3. The next one has 4x squared plus 20x over my denominator. And now I can just add the numerators. When I do that, I see I have a 4x squared. I have a 10x plus 20x is 30x plus 30 all over my denominator. Let's look at another one. Here I'm going to start by factoring. This first one factors into x plus 2, x plus 3. And the second one factors to x plus 2, x minus 2. So for my least common denominator, the first fraction has an x plus 2, x plus 3. If I look at the second one, I've already included the x plus 2, so I just need to include the x minus 2. So now I need to have everything with the least common denominator. The first fraction is missing the x minus 2 to make it the least common denominator. So I'm going to include that on both the top and the bottom. The second fraction has the x plus 2, x minus 2, but is missing the x plus 3. So I'll include that on both the top and the bottom. Multiplying out, I'll get x squared minus 6x plus 8 for the first one over my denominator. For the second one, I'll get x squared plus 2x minus 3 over my denominator. I can now add things. I have x squared plus x squared is 2x squared. Minus 6x plus 2x is minus 4x. And then 8 minus 3 is plus 5. All over x plus 2, x plus 3, x minus 2. For our last example, let's look at a subtraction. The first fraction doesn't need to be factored, but the second one, the denominator, does. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 21 and add to be negative 4 would be negative 7 and positive 3. So now my least common denominator, well, I have an x minus 7 on the first one. For the second one, I've already included the x minus 7, and now I just need to include the x plus 3. So on my first fraction, I have the x minus 7, but not the x plus 3. So I'll include the x plus 3 on the top and the bottom. Minus x squared plus 4x plus 13 over, and you'll notice the second one actually already has the least common denominator, so we don't need to do any extra steps there. Multiplying out this first one, I get x squared plus x minus 6 over x minus 7x plus 3 minus x squared plus 4x plus 13 over x minus 7x plus 3. And now I actually need to subtract. X squared minus x squared is 0. X minus 4x would be negative 3x. And negative 6 minus 13 would be negative 19. All over my denominator.